Here with director Douglas Tirola for Bernstein's Wall. Can you kind of approach this in a unique way using his actual voice? Can you describe the challenge in doing that?
Thank you for that question. I- when we started to develop this project, Bernstein's Wall, Bernstein is just such a great character. There's an old Hollywood cliche which says, when you cast your movie, you cast your fate. And with the documentary, it's very much the same way. You don't have to be an actor to be a movie star. Leonard Bernstein just jumps off the screen. He's so articulate, but also relatable. And I've made a number of movies that have talking heads and interviews. I'm not someone who's against that. Sometimes I think that's the right choice. And we did do some interviews, which really helped with research, but soon into it, it just made this choice where I said, I don't know if there's anyone I, as an audience member, would want to see on the screen more than him, because he's no longer with us, and when he passed away, there aren't really people to tell his story that experienced with him. Certainly his kids are there, and people like Yo-Yo Ma that he helped, but people that really were there with him and maybe influenced him, sadly passed away. So the idea came that we were going to just have him tell his story to us, which seemed like a great idea when we started. And then, of course, a few months into it, you go, wow, he was born when the mass communication was just radio. TV didn't come about until later. His story ends when home video existed, but there was no definitive audio book. There was no definitive interview. And we really had to go looking like the way someone looks through tag sales, essentially, to find this. Luckily, we did find two big sources. There was an interview that was done in Italy. He'd gone to Italy with his family in the late 60s. He brought a friend of his who was a journalist named John Gruen. And they had this informal conversation over many days, and it was 28 hours of tape. Right as the pandemic was hitting New York, really the city was like evacuating, we found this woman, Julia Gruen, the daughter of John Gruen. She had coincidentally run Keith Haring's foundation for years, so she had this artist's heart as well. She said, I'm leaving the city. If you can meet me at 10 o'clock tomorrow, it was a diner on Lexington Avenue, New York City, I'll listen to what you have to say. She gave me an hour. Gave her my told her why I wanted to do this, and she says, I'm going to help you, which is, eternally grateful. And then there was another gentleman named Peter Rosen, a documentary filmmaker, who in the 70s, the U.S. was making these, I don't want to call them propaganda films, but they made these films that were released in Europe to sort of try and tell the rest of the world, we're cultured, and they made one about Leonard Bernstein, never played in the U.S. He happened to have an office where, when I was a production assistant, which for people that don't know, that means like the gopher, last name in the credits, right before we didn't hurt any pets, making this. And I had been in this building, and so when I went to meet with him, it's called Do Art Labs. It was a sort of a famous building in New York that developed film for independent filmmakers, and we just hit it off, and he said, I have this footage that wasn't in the movie, this raw footage that the Bernstein family, the LBO, they call it, the Leonard Bernstein office, has. And he gave us permission to use it. We got a tremendous amount of help from the Bernstein family, from this Leonard Bernstein office, which runs all things Leonard Bernstein and keeps his name and his ideas out there. And that allowed us to have him tell the story. The other way I would say it is this. The idea for the movie is Leonard Bernstein plays some great concert. He goes back to his hotel in Vienna or Paris. He goes and sits at the hotel bar, and he starts talking to someone, and he tells them his life story, but really as a way to say, this is the meaning of life. And that's what the movie is. He's telling us his story, but as a way to tell us, this is how you should live life. This is what you should look for in life.
And then, again, coming back to music, can you describe how his music is still so important and profound today?
I mean, I think Leonard Bernstein composed a number of things. Everyone knows West Side Story. There's other music that people recognize that they might not even know where it was from, like the overture to play or musical called Candide. He recorded so many of Beethoven, Bach, Mahler, I mean, everything. Gershwin, marching music. So I think he had this struggle of like, was he this great composer or this great conductor? I think he was both. I think what he did as a conductor has never been done since. I think the world's looking for its next Leonard Bernstein, and the movie tries to explain what made him so special about that. Certainly he understands music in this incredible genius-like level, but his ability to communicate what music does and how it comes together and how it's made, how it makes people feel, is what really makes him worthy of well, hopefully our movie is worthy of him, but why he's still so relevant today.